You Will, the leading mental health and wellness solution, proudly supporting 3 million students at more than 400 colleges worldwide with immediate access to licensed therapists 24/7, 365. For more information, visit youwill.com. That's UWILL.com.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and today we are extremely excited to announce our paid subscription service. By subscribing today, you will get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content, and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to Ed Up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Solucio back with you on another episode. If you've been following my journey of late, you'll notice that I made a recent transition as a sidestep to higher education after 23 years as a higher ed administrator, going into an office every single day, now in my unfinished basement as the vice president of industry engagement at Ellucian. So helping institutions with their technology needs, because I do believe, and I really truly believe this after my time in higher ed, that picking the right SIS company is, and having the right SIS is foundational to everything that we want to do in higher education. We don't think of it that way, but everything we want to do, competency-based, non-credit, non-term, all has to be configured within this piece of technology. And I felt Ellucian was the best company to have eyes on the future of higher ed. Enough about me. This isn't a soapbox moment, but the point of this conversation is, look, it is true what they say when you're working from home: professional on top, casual on bottom, button-down shirt, tie sometimes, and gym shorts. It's real, ladies and gentlemen, and that's just the truth. It's very rare if somebody tells you that we're in a full suit sitting in their unfinished basement, they're lying to you. They got socks and slippers on with that button-down shirt. And if you think I'm not telling the truth, then go home and work and see what you do. The last time I did odd transition here, but I'm bringing back a guest co-host that has absolutely nothing to do with what I talked about of working from home. But she has a lot to do with transition, because if I remember the conversation right, and rarely do I, but I think I remember this one, she had been an interim president for a couple of years. And I said, Amy, what the heck is the deal with this board? Now, I just said your name without introducing you, right? So this board needs to make you the full-time president, and they have, ladies and gentlemen. She's Dr. Amy Diaz. She is the president at Gateway Community College, and rightfully so. Amy, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Yes, I've been the permanent president for about 1.5 years now. So.
Yep. It's been a while since we had you on, but this is it's a interesting time in higher ed, Amy, and we're glad to have you back interviewing another college president. How's the transition been for you? Getting in, it probably seamless, right? Because you were doing a lot of that work anyway, but there is something to be said for the permanency.
Yes, and I think when I was with you last, I was maybe embarking on a listening tour of sorts, and so I'm on the other side of the listening tour. We've identified some things that we want, that the entire college has agreed upon, that we want to work on over the next couple of years, and so that, along with launching a new strategic plan and the development process for that, keeps me busy.
No doubt. Job of a college president is a very busy job, and one that not in the case of our guest, but one that has had declining tenure. Presidents, there are less people that want to become a college president, and those that are college presidents aren't staying as long. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and what some of the challenges of the job are. Let's bring him in now, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Nariman Farvardin. He's president at Stevens Institute of Technology, and I think I nailed it.
You did a great job.
Thank you, sir. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I always want to level set for our audience, for those that may not have heard of Stevens Institute of Technology. Why don't you start by telling us where you are, where you're located, what do you do, and how do you do it?
Well, We are located in the beautiful city of Hoboken in New Jersey, on the west bank of the famous Hudson River. If you were here in my office, you would have been able to look right behind me, and the most prominent building you see is the Empire State Building. So we're in very close proximity to Manhattan. I have been in this wonderful institution for a little longer than 14 years, to be precise, 14 years and a little more than a month. So I'm actually constructively contributing to the average tenure of university presidents in the United States. And what do? I serve a community of about 9,000 students, a little more than 50,000 alumni, and about 1,200 full-time faculty and staff members at Stevens.
So not much. No, you do a lot. You do a lot. Tell us about Stevens and the programs that you offer, the curriculum. And I read online a really interesting fact about Stevens, that it was one of the first technical colleges, computer science colleges in the country.
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the history of this university. We are 154 years old. Stevens was established in 1870. The founding family of Stevens was actually the first family of entrepreneurs and innovators in the United States. The patriarch of the family was Colonel John Stevens, and he built a super successful business, mostly focused on steam engines, with three of his sons. This was in the early part of 1800s, when steam engines were the primary means of primary engine for transportation vehicles. And the family generated a tremendous amount of wealth. And one of the three sons who worked with Colonel John was Edwin Stevens. He passed away in 1868, and he had left a will in which he had requested that with a portion of his estate, they established the first school of mechanical engineering in the United States. So Stevens was born 2 years later as a result of truly heroic efforts of Edwin's wife, who actually fulfilled the wishes of her late husband. So Stevens was born in 1870 as the first college of mechanical engineering in the United States. And Stevens remained very focused on mechanical engineering for a long, long time. I don't exactly know how long, but maybe close to a century, something like that. And then gradually, Stevens began to extend its tentacles into other fields of engineering and science. And then it further evolved to this point where we cover almost everything in engineering, almost everything in hard sciences. We have a very vibrant and rapidly growing School of Business that covers everything that the School of Business covers. And we have a School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences as well. Having said that, I'd like to add one more thing by way of introduction to Stevens. I would say what probably makes Stevens somewhat different from most other universities, despite the fact that we have this spectrum of offerings, is that technology is the glue that brings all pieces of the university together. So it is not that we have very good programs in mechanical engineering and electrical engineering and computer science, but that our School of Business is very technology-centered, that our School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences is very technology-centered. So it is that technology centricity that really defines this institution.
Amazing.
I want to pass it to Amy, but ask one quick follow-up, or maybe one quick clarification. When I said you're the first school of computer science, I failed to remember that computers weren't invented in the 1800s, right? So what I meant to say was mechanical engineering, of course. But being a first in anything in higher ed is really groundbreaking at the time, and being able to have that foundation to evolve into the future is important. And we're at a time where higher ed has to reinvent itself again and again and again. One of the pieces you have on your website that I really loved is that you tell students what you're not just what you are. And can you talk a little bit about why you position yourselves that way and why that's important in the crowded marketplace?
By all means, yeah, this is a very important question. And by asking me this question, you're actually opening a completely new set of issues. But I will not go into too much detail, just to say that I see a significant paradigm shift in the higher education system in the United States. When I went to college about 45 years ago or so, people used to go to college to get a degree largely to become a better citizen, largely to get a well-rounded education. Higher education was actually available to a large extent to the middle class. Fast forward 45 years, the cost of higher education has gone up so much that access to higher education for a middle class has become much more difficult. And it is much harder to justify for college-bound students and their families to justify going to college, paying a significant amount in tuition and fees and room and board, and incurring a significant amount of debt just to become a better citizen.
Yikes!
So I think return on that investment, what they will do with that education, what kind of career opportunities will be created for them as a result of receiving the education that they pursue in college, becomes a critically important part of their decision. So we at Stevens are very focused on that issue. For us, offering our students an education that makes them not only a better citizen, but also a citizen who can go to the workforce, build a successful career, and for a good family, and contribute to our innovation economy, is a critical aspect of our decisions as we grow and evolve the university.
Tell them like it is.
I know you're singing Amy's language or talking Amy's language here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was thinking of some of the parallels in looking at your website and hearing you speak today, that Stevens has a focus on technology, but it's infused throughout all of the programs. And at Gateway Community College, we're known as the Workforce Development College. And I think to some extent, what I heard you say is true of all colleges, whether it's community college, four-year university. All of our students are trying to figure out their pathway into the workforce. I mean, generally that is what they are trying to do. And we also have this rate of change that is exponential with respect to technology-infused learning, solutions for helping us work more efficiently. And we could talk AI, we don't necessarily have to, but the parallels are interesting because in some ways being a workforce development college is what has set us apart. And I imagine for you all being an Institute of Technology, it sets you apart of some of the other institutions. But I feel like there's an imperative that is upon both of our institution types, which is that everyone needs to be in the business of focusing on workforce development, focusing on placement, outcomes, student success in post-completion success, right? After they're done with their credential, whatever that is, how successful are they in the workforce? And we all need to be exploring with using technology in innovative ways, because that's going to be the imperative. People are going to be in all these different kinds of jobs, across all different kinds of industries, and they're going to have a technology requirement of them. They're going to need to be somewhat proficient in some various forms of technology. So talk to us about that. How do you continue to help your institution be a leader in a space where everyone is trying to be maybe more of the same?
Well, first of all, Amy, I agree completely with the general theme of what you just explained and the conclusions that you had. To respond to your question, there are a couple of things that I can comment on. Number one, it is easy to say that you have a technology-infused set of programs. It is much harder to actually infuse technology in a deliberate way into a whole host of different programs that are not necessarily technology-centered. So let me give you a couple of examples that make Stevens somewhat different. For example, at Stevens, if you are an undergraduate student in any major, it doesn't matter whether it's computer science, mechanical engineering, or finance, or the arts, or social sciences. You have to take a course in coding. That's a requirement. So I don't know of very many universities that actually insist that a course in coding be part of the core curriculum. Furthermore, we just actually revised our core curriculum. The core is the part of the curriculum which is required of every student who receives a degree from Stevens. Doesn't matter from what major, in what school, in what department. Another requirement that is part of our new core is a course called Frontiers in Technology. So every student at Stevens will have to take this course, and within this course, they will have modules related to artificial intelligence. Now remember, required. Right. Sustainability, quantum computing, biotechnology. So that's how we distinguish ourselves, by ensuring that we just don't talk about infusing technology, but we actually make it a requirement in the curriculum of all the students. And I can spend a lot more time and tell you about all other approaches we use in order to infuse technology beyond what's going on in the classroom and in the curriculum. But I think you have to be very intentional about this. And I think as a result of this, when a student receives a degree from Stevens, even if they're a music major, they are so technologically literate that they stand out. I am sure you agree with me. If you're, we're right next to Wall Street. If you're hiring a finance major and they put two highly qualified finance majors in front of you, one person is technologically literate and the other one is not, which one would you hire?
No question. The one with the technology literacy background.
But that's how our graduates have kind of a leg up as they go into the workforce.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, Amy, if keep going if you want, you can take over if you have another one. But differentiation is foundational right now. There's an article someone just wrote, and I can't remember, but it was the homogenization of higher education. Everybody's look-alike. Not everybody, but a lot of institutions are look-alike. Same programs. Is there really differences in educational quality? There are in what programs teach, but by and large, you could have faculty that teach at multiple institutions if they're adjunct. So there's a lot of parity in the actual delivery of higher education, but differentiation becomes really important to stand out. And we're seeing closures, we're seeing mergers. I don't think the FAFSA bit of course, and we're recording this as of yesterday, they're talking about FAFSA being delayed till December 1st. So your next incoming class, for those that are doing the term schedule, is delayed. Hard to see that top line revenue, hard to decide to make any investments, so there's disruption amid industry where there has been some level of sameness. So how do you communicate that differentiation to a student that needs it, right? Because they're looking at 100 universities, 50 universities, then 20 universities, then 10, then 5, then 2. How do you make sure that you're top of mind when that student gets down to make that choice, particularly in your regional area? More than 400 colleges around the globe trust UWill to support the mental health and wellness of their students, faculty, and staff. As the leading global mental health and wellness solution, UWill provides an immediate appointment with a licensed counselor based on student preferences, all modalities of teletherapy, a direct crisis connection, wellness events, real-time data, and support. Learn how the leading mental health and wellness solution can support your campus by visiting uwill.com.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Are you enjoying the conversation so far? Good. I hope so. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early before anybody else and ad free, so you don't have to hear my voice during these ads? And did you also know that you could get extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. So go to edupexperience.com, that's EDUP experience.com, and become a subscriber today. First, you got to sign up to our free email newsletter, and then you'll find out how to become a subscriber. Again, go to edupexperience.com.
Joe, I think that the answer to that question for us is fairly simple. By way of our actions. By way of our actions. You see, all we need to do to a prospective student or to the parents of that prospective student when they come visit our campus is to tell them about the curriculum, to tell them about the kind of opportunities that are available here for them, to tell them about what is required of them. That's all we need to do. And then they go to the campus of another university that they're looking at, and they see that, for example, a course in coding is not required. It's available in most universities. It is available, but it's not required. A course in artificial intelligence or in sustainability or in biotechnology or in quantum computing is available, but it's not required. So it all depends on what the son or daughter chooses to select. Whereas at Stevens, it is intentionally, deliberately inserted into the curriculum in a very thoughtful way. That is our action. And I think actions are very powerful things. People tend to listen to them. Also, you need to share with them outcomes. There's no question about that. We are very proud at Stevens that about 97% of the students who graduate in May, within 6 months, are either at a job or in graduate school.
Excellent.
Since you're both very familiar with higher education, this is an astonishingly high number. The average starting salaries of these students last year was $85,200.
Mm-hmm.
These outcomes matter.
Right.
So if a student goes to college and is from kind of a relatively low income or even middle income families these days and has to incur and has to borrow loan and incur some amount of debt, they ask themselves, can I justify a $20,000 debt when I graduate? And the answer is, for sure you can. If your average starting salary is $85,000, this is a no-brainer. So we also communicate these, I would say, very compelling outcomes.
I love that. That's another parallel to Gateway, being that we're focused on 2-year training programs leading to high family sustaining wages. And we end up on the top 10 list of community college graduates with the highest median, income in their first year. in the workforce. And so that's something that I think we try to communicate regularly, is that part of our mission is to ensure that we're offering credentials that lead to family sustaining wages, that we're not asking people to pay money to end up in a job that might only pay minimum wage.
Absolutely.
So we do a lot of, stackable credentials and things like that. Well, I'm really interested to hear how Stevens stays current with preparing students for future careers that may not exist yet. That's been top of mind for me lately. How do we do that? What do we do to make sure that we're cutting edge with the future of work so that we can design the training programs that our future workforce needs, but they're not there yet?
Amy, this is an extremely important question, and it kind of takes the discussion back to, I think, something that Joe alluded to earlier about how you try to differentiate yourselves. And I think, Joe, you said that a lot of universities are very similar to each other. I think there's nothing fundamentally bad about that either. There are a number of fundamentals that, in my opinion, are extremely important for graduates of colleges to learn those fundamentals in order to be successful for the rest of their professional lives. I think if we only teach software packages and apps and these fancy things that are in vogue today, but will be out of fashion and maybe completely obsolete 10 years from now, we are doing our students a disservice. So if the great majority of universities teach good English and good history and good values of our democracy and good thermodynamics and good circuit theory, that is great, because these are the kind of things that students will use for the rest of their lives. These are things that people learn when they're 18, 19, 20 years old, and they can build on them to learn more for the ensuing 50 or 60 years. I can tell you, this is something funny, and it's a digression, but I will mention it to you. I have been in the business of teaching for 59 years.
Outrageous!
It is outrageous. 59 years. So I've been teaching for a long, long time. And I am confident enough that you ask me to teach anything related to fields that I have not even studied. I have the confidence to pick up a book, read it on my own, and I know that I can learn it. And that confidence comes from the fact that I learned those fundamentals well. So the answer to Amy's question is, if we want to prepare students for lifelong learning, it is important to strike a very good balance between teaching them those fundamentals that, in my opinion, are critical in making them a good citizen, but also in enabling them to learn for the rest of their lives, while at the same time teaching them a certain set of skills that make them suitable for the workforce and contributors to our economy. So that balance is a very delicate balance.
You made me think of, when you were talking, you made me think of something, and I think it's relevant in this case, particularly around your teaching background. You've been teaching for a long time. You come up through the ranks, as it were, over the time, and you become a university president. Let me think about how to say this. There are many people in the industry right now that are saying education's a business, and we have to treat it like a business. It runs like a business. We've got profits and revenue and surplus and a nonprofit, revenue, expense, and so all of these line items we have to watch. is another camp, so to speak, and I don't know that it's one or the other, but there are people that have been in higher education for many years that say, well, that's not exactly true. There are aspects of it that operate like a business, and then there's a whole nother part of it that is not a business and it needs to be tackled with this nuance and so on. As a faculty member for a really long time, because this is bubbling up because of the ROI conversation, right? Because students want ROI. If we're treating it like a business and the students treating it like they're choosing to come to this business, so on and so on. So it's bringing all this business terminology into higher education without giving you my opinion. I want to get an objective opinion for you, for somebody that's been in education for a long time, where you sit on that issue. Not one or the other, but what do you think about this argument? That higher ed should be maintained like a business 24/7.
Joe, as you pointed out correctly, I've been in higher education, in the U.S. higher education for a long, long time. So
I didn't say that exactly. I said that you've been around. I didn't say
but I've been around for a long, long time. I admit that. I started my appointment as an assistant, as a completely green assistant professor in 1983. So 41 years in higher education. And what I would say, I agree with you wholeheartedly. There are really two camps. There are two camps. There is one camp that increasingly speaks about higher education as purely a business. And there is this other camp that cringes when the other camp speaks, because they say higher education is a fundamental component of our value system. This is to make people better people. Don't bring money and business into this picture at all. I really think, this is my personal view, and this is the answer to your question, being at either end of this spectrum is a mistake, and it's stupid. I strongly believe in those fundamentals that I was talking about, and those cannot be measured by money, or they cannot be described in business terms. On the other hand, if you forget about the business aspects of higher education, which in my opinion are being largely ignored in many institutions of higher education, that is a recipe for a disaster. I think that's another area where a very good balance needs to be struck in order for the American higher education system, which has been the envy of the world, to be sustained.
I think people forget that, by the way, that we forget that it's been the envy of the world, right, for many, many years. And internationally, I find there is much greater value on higher education than there is in the States right now.
I agree completely. But the point I was trying to make is we have a collective responsibility to make the American higher education system sustainable, because it's been so successful. And for it to be sustainable, we cannot operate at either end of that spectrum that we were just talking about.
Amy, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think, because we're not in the business of making a product, we're in the business of developing humans, that I think that is the core issue that people who don't want to think of higher education having any business alignment at all really double down on. But it's what we do. It's what our mission is. But at the end of the day, we're still responsible for our budget. We're still responsible for being fiscal stewards, of the resources that we have available. Depending on the type of institution you are, you might be working from a break-even analysis point of view. But we're all trying to be a high-functioning place of employment that has a good reputation, that is using our resources wisely, but we're not making widgets, we're developing people, right? So I think that's, in my mind, that's the core issue that people take issue with, because people have their own minds, they have their own lived experiences, they come from varying points of view, varying walks of life, and even if we're training, 24 people to become nurses, the the standards that they're meeting are the same standards because they're recognized in the industry. But the way that people go about being a nurse, the personality that they bring to the classroom and then ultimately to the workplace is varied and is different. And so the fact that we have to continually think about the student experience, where they are sort of in their journey, meeting them where they are, doing all these things that are human-centric things. I think when we hire faculty who believe in all those things and are really excited about doing all those things, they tend to be turned off by, but the student still has to pay tuition, they still have to pay it on time. We're not a social service agency, although those lines are becoming blurred more and more because we know that our students are coming to us as whole people with lots of challenges in, sometimes it's not even so much can they pay their tuition, it's can they pay their rent, do they have reliable transportation, do they have sources of income for food and other things. So I think that's especially prevalent in the community college system, that our students are just coming to us with so many challenges that are life challenges, but they're not compartmentalizing. They're bringing it to us in the classroom, on our campuses. And I think the millennials are more and more willing to just talk about it and to put it out there. Like, I am struggling. What are you, XYZ institution, going to do to help me? I am struggling and I'm still trying to be a student. So I think that, to me, it becomes the human-centric part, which is what makes the business acumen side of it become less attractive for us to align with, right? Because we're producing engineers who are going to go into a business and be all about a business model, right? It's all going to be about productivity and all that sort of thing. But because we're developing the human to do the thing, I think it somewhere in between the two extreme views, I think is probably where I position myself, because I do think we're in the business of developing humans, but we're still in the business of doing something. We still have to be accountable to our finances.
Speaking of extreme views, the view of New York is pretty incredible. And I was thinking about geography. Do you like that transition, by the way? The geography. Do you get a lot of students that want to be in the hustle and bustle, but not directly physically be located in that hustle and bustle, but have it accessible? So you provide the sort of, I don't want to say small town because I know Hoboken it's not that way, but the more suburban feel to the urban New York City that you can literally see across the river. Are you getting a lot of that these days as a result of COVID and overpopulation and all that kind of stuff?
Jill, you're raising a very good topic, and this is something that I talk to our students about a lot, and I've done that for the past 14 years. There are three types of students. One type of student loves to be in the middle of the hustle and bustle. In fact, they would prefer, I'm talking about our students, they would prefer for Hoboken to have been part of Manhattan, okay? They love it. Then they take advantage of our proximity to New York City almost every day. They get on the train. There's a PATH train here that leaves from Hoboken, which is a 10-minute walk from our campus, and it's in Manhattan in 12 minutes. And they take advantage of it. They go to these Broadway shows. They go to museums and restaurants and all of that. There's a second type of student who actually ends up not coming to us, but they come visit us. These are people who panic when they come to their area. You know, these are students who come from rural areas in Wyoming or Montana. They come here. This is a huge shock for them. This is not for them. This is too busy, too crazy, too fast. Then there's a third category, and those are students who love coming to Stevens. Those are students who love the proximity of New York City and the hustle and bustle, but I would add on top of it, access to incredible opportunities, but they don't want to be they don't want to be in the middle
In it. Mhm.
of the action. They want to be in Hoboken. There's a river separating us. Hoboken is calmer, quieter, much more friendly, and because of that, they love this place. So that third group is our sweet spot.
You just made the list.
That's who you
So along the same lines, I have three super quick questions.
go.
Who is your most famous alum?
Living or not,
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I would say the most famous alum whom you might know is a gentleman by the name of Marcus Brownlee. Do you know him?
I do not.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Because he is the most successful and the most highly respected technology reviewer on the face of the planet.
Yeah,
Marcus Brownlee. Look him up.
I'm gonna look him up.
I'm going to look him up. Yeah.
He has,
Okay.
I don't know, 3.5 billion views, billion with a
Wow.
B. And he graduated, I think, only in 2017. So watch this man because
Oh, he's a YouTube influencer. Is he like
he's
YouTube
a
and
YouTube
Instagram?
influencer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look him up. Second question: do you have a relationship with John Bon Jovi? Because isn't Bon Jovi from Hoboken?
From New Jersey. I don't know if John Bon Jovi is from Hoboken, but if he is, we don't have a relationship with him.
All
We
right.
did have once a relationship with Frank Sinatra, who was from
Oh, okay.
Now
has
you're
a PhD
talking.
degree from
That's
Stevens.
interesting. And do you know the story of the ducks? Why are you called the ducks?
I don't know the answer to that. I've tried to find out for the past 14 years, and I don't know.
That is funny. Those simple questions turn out to be the hardest ones to answer sometimes. What I like about that though is that you brought it up in New York, New Jersey. Many people who live in New York, in particular, think that New York City is the epicenter of the world, right? I grew up in Syracuse, New York, so all my friends from New York City would say, "Oh, I didn't even know I thought Syracuse was in Canada." So it's you have this amazing geography of culture, of art, of music, of technology. It's a hub for diversity and equity and inclusion and movement, right? Like that's one of the big benefits of being on the East Coast is you can be in Hoboken, go to New York City and Philadelphia probably within an hour, or Delaware or whatever. So students can find great job opportunity in states all within a couple hours so you have a lot of companies and relationships that are available to you. Can you just talk about maintaining business relationships and how important that is to ensuring students get those jobs?
Absolutely. And by the way, usually when I talk to students or prospective students and their family members, I point to Manhattan. We have a truly magnificent skyline from our campus. So people fall in love with that picture. And then the beautiful city of Hoboken, which is a very dense, very active, fun place to be. And I tell them, look at our location. This location is a fantastic location, not only because of the city of Hoboken and not only because of that beautiful skyline, but because of access to opportunities. That access to opportunity is rather unusual. You can't replicate that in most other universities. Joe, you were asking me about differentiators. This is kind of our unfair advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That access to opportunity can't be reproduced in other places. So we cherish that, and we work extremely hard to maintain and actually expand those set of opportunities. So one of the big things if you review our 10-year strategic plan, is on partnerships. And a significant part of partnerships with the corporate world. By the way, if you take the campus of Stevens Institute of Technology, put it on the map, and you draw a circle of 1 hour drive around Hoboken, the number of Fortune 500 companies within that circle is larger than any other location on the face of the planet.
Wow.
So it behooves us to develop those relationships, nurture those relationships, and expand those relationships because they benefit our students, and quite frankly, they benefit our faculty members. Our research programs are growing by leaps and bounds, in part because of these partnerships.
Well, there you have it, everybody. We're going to ask the good doctors here to come back for a quick episode just for our subscribers. So I want to make sure I exit them the right way for those of you listening here. Our co-host, she's Dr. Amy Diaz. She's president of Gateway Community College. Amy, guest co-host, check. In your long list of long bucket list of things to do. Well, hopefully this won't be the only time we have you back.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
And Dr. Nariman Farvardin, president of Stevens Institute of Technology. I've been practicing all day. Thank you for being here, sir, and great work for those students and those staff and faculty you support. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just ed up. More than 400 colleges around the globe trust UWill to support student mental health and wellness needs. With UWill, students can book an appointment in 5 minutes and receive crisis support in 30 seconds from licensed therapists 24/7, 365. Private, secure, confidential, and built to support students and you. UWill provides an immediate appointment with a licensed counselor based on student preferences, all modalities of teletherapy, a direct crisis connection, wellness events, real-time data, and support. Learn more about bringing the leading mental health and wellness solution to your campus by visiting uwill.com. That's UWILL.com.
Hey, everybody. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Did you enjoy that conversation? I hope you did. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early on and ad-free? And you can also hear extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content, and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. Did you know that? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com to subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, that's edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.